Hey guys, I was able to finish up the sheaves yesterday for these Mac V, and I thought I'd show them to you this morning, kind of show you the next steps that I'll be involved in. I've already cleaned up one knife this morning, and are getting ready to do the other four. And then I'll have to blast them and put blue on the blades and everything. So anyhow, a lot of steps. Okay, let me show you these, and then I'll show you some other stuff as we go along. Okay, here's the SOG buoys and the SOG Recons. These are the Recons here, and these are the buoys. This is the one that I've already cleaned up this morning. I haven't finished it now. The handle will still have to be waxed and another buffing. I buffed the handle on the buffer over there to knock the rough parts off of where I put. This is kind of rough, you see. When you put the hardener on it, it makes it kind of a glossy color, and it makes it a little rough too. You can feel the kind of gritty like that. And I could leave them like that, but I don't. I go ahead and buff them down with this, and then I put wax on it then after I do that. But I have cleaned the blade up on this one. You can see the blade. You could leave it satin finish like this if you wanted to, but most military guys want theirs black or left a kind of a forged finish or something like that. They don't want it shiny like this. So that's why I do that. And you have to worry about rust. Of course, on this type of steel, this is 80 CRV2, there is some chromium in it, and so it's not as prone to rust as some steels like 01 or 1095s. All the old carbon steels will rust pretty bad, but this one doesn't rust as bad as some, but it will rust. So I'm going to go ahead and blue it, and that way it'll hold off the rust a little. Okay, let me move along. Okay, now I'm going to be buffing the handle on one of these SOG buoys. So when I buff the handle, I use this white rouge on this wheel right here. That way these white things right in here, these white spacers are G10, white G10, and they get a little black at first, so you have to really watch it when you're doing those. But anyhow, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. Buff that greedy stuff off of the handle. Smooth, and it'll set the wax in. See that handle, how it's smoothing up now. Now you see how the black gets on these white spacers. You have to use this white rouge to try to eliminate that. Right on the corner, you have to get right on the corner. also smoothing up any little imperfections in the spacer. When you're grinding, you get there's little imperfections that happen in the process, so you're trying to get all those out too. You can. Of course, you can't get everything. It is a handmade knife, so it's going to have a few imperfections. There's no two that are going to be exactly alike, because as you've seen, everything's done by hand here in this shop, so you're not getting something that won't come off of some kind of manufacturing process. This is a hand-making process. It's a little imperfection there that I'm trying to get out of that white spacer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it all or not. It's hard to get them sometimes on this G10. Should be wearing my mask. It ain't good to breathe this stuff. I forgot to put it on. That's about it. The other side. See that black right here? Yeah, it's black right in there. Imperfection in there also. Trying to get out. Little scratch. The finish work is not something that I really like to do, but it is something that has to be done to try to make it as close to perfect as you can get. You're never going to get perfect with it, just like us humans. When you become a Christian, you become a person who is dedicated to Jesus Christ and trying to become more and more like Him. But you're still in this flesh and blood body, and you still have imperfections that you're trying to get out. And it is quite a process, I'll guarantee you. But the promise is that He would be with you, and that He would help you with His Spirit to be able to overcome this situation. And then when you pass from this earth to the real world, well then you are glorified. And that way, that's when you become perfect. If you're a Christian. I hope that you are. And I hope that you would consider it at least, because sometimes people get the wrong idea about what Christianity really is. It's just God trying to rescue a bunch of us from our mess-ups. And He came down here to do it. It was His mission. His mission to earth, to rescue a bunch of sinners. And boy, was I wrong. Still am, but thank God I'm getting better. Take me 75 years to get to this learn quick, some of them like me learn slow. Okay, I'm gonna switch around to this one now. I hope y'all can see what I'm doing here. I'll have to look at this video a little bit to see if you're able to see this. I may be getting in the way there. But anyhow, you can see that one that I just did there. I was able to get that imperfection mostly out of it there, and that's what you're doing. Of course, all of this black stuff here I have to be cleaned off too. But I'll do that on the grinder, and then it's going to have to be blasted to guard anyhow. So this part here won't seem to be quite there. Little imperfection up there I'm trying to get out. Newt was really good at this. He had to have on purpose. I'm not as finesse driven as he was. He was an artist, I tell you. And he wanted them to be perfect. And he was really, I'm not perfection guy, but I try to get it decent. I guess some people are just built that way. We're all built different. We got different personalities, characteristics, and different passions. We're all just on the road. Each one of us has got different abilities and things that we're good at. Okay, I'm going to let that be it on that one. All this I have to be taped off when I take them to the blaster over there. Hey, I know this video is taking a little long here, but anyhow, you can see what the handle looks like after you buff the grit off of it there. Okay, now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next on the grinder. You see how this blade looks? It's got, this is how it came out of the heat treat process. It's what it looks like. I kind of like that look myself, but if you're going to blue it and get it black, you know, blacken the blade and the hilts and all that, well, you got to take this off, and then you got to blast it to give it a kind of a porous finish, so you can, so your blue will take real well on it. So that's what it looks like before, and this is what it looks like after, you know, you get through with the process of cleaning up the blade. I won't do this long. I'll just show you because it's going to take a little while. When I'm doing this on the grinder, well, it takes sometimes you've got little imperfections like you do on the handle, and you're trying to make everything come out really perfect. You know, you're trying to make the point come out perfect, the lines on the point and all that. So that's where this finish work comes in, is on the blade, is when you're doing this. So that's what I'm going to do. Now you see this wheel that I'm using here is a big one. I think this is a 14-inch wheel. Now the reason I'm doing this wheel is because this is a 1/4" steel that I'm using. It's 1/4" steel that I'm using on these saws. Now the original saws was probably around 3/16 or maybe even less, 5/32, something like that. But this is a little over a 1/4" when you're using these. I want them good and stout, so I use that 1/4" stuff. And also, if you're drilling the end of the tang for screws, well, you need a little wider tang, you know, to work with there. But anyhow, the wheel gives you a slight hollow grind. If you want a deep hollow grind, well, you'd go to a wheel like this, you know, if you want a deep hollow grind. I don't want a deep hollow grind, so I'm using this big wheel to do the hollow grind. And then I'll switch from the wheel to the flat platen to clean up the sides of the blade and the back of the blade and all of that. So that's the reason that you see a big wheel on here. Okay, let me where you're trying to get your choil cleaned up in here. That's a little tedious process. Sometimes I'll switch from this belt to one like this to be able to clean up that choil. And I may do it on this one just to show you, because this belt is geared mostly for trying to clean off the black stuff. Notice that I leave the gloves off when I'm doing this so that I'll know I don't want to get the blade too hot because it's already been heat treated. So I leave my gloves off so I can tell when it's heating up with my thumb and my finger. Now you see that little black stuff is still in that choil, in that plunge line right now. It's called a plunge line, not a choil. This is the choil right in here. This is the plunge line. So I'm trying to clean up that plunge line, and with that belt it's a little hard to do. So I'm going to switch it over to the other belt to be able to do that, to another belt, and show you how that works. This is a wore out 220 belt, and it'll work good for that, for cleaning out that choil. I mean that plunge line. Now you slow. I got a deal over here. I can slow the motor down. I slow it real slow when I'm doing plunge line, and then you take your deal here and you run your belt out over the edge of that wheel, and then you kind of tilt your knife a little bit so that you don't get into it up here. And you lay it up against there and bring it into that choil. I mean into that plunge line. Now, you see, plunge line is clean now. Cleaned it out with that. And I'll come back now and put the other belt on when I do that. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. But you can see also all of these this has to be done too up here and all. I'm not going to get into all of that and show you that because the video would be too long. So but it's going to take me all day. If I may not even get through with all of these knives today. It may be tomorrow before I finish them up. Probably will. But anyhow, you can see how it works.